Welcome to my channel, where there are interesting and equally sensational stories. Listen to today's story. Always go with your gut instinct. Your head can be deceived, your heart can be deceived, but your gut cannot be deceived. We shouldn't always be so trusting. Today, we put cheaters on blast so that the red flags cannot be ignored. Up first, always trust your gut, not your partner. Fiancée cheated with best man. 2 years ago, I, 30 male, was scheduled to get married to the 28 female love of my life. 3 weeks to my wedding, I suddenly noticed that my fiancée was always on her phone, always chatting, or discussing with random men, which she always claimed were just friends. Things got so bad. She never even had time for me at this very crucial time in her relationship. This really affected me emotionally as I began to have second thoughts about the wedding. I always had to wonder who she was always discussing with online and meeting with behind me. I said, "F it, I'm gonna trust her." All week, I reminded myself you have to trust her. I was too afraid to let myself believe something was wrong. 2 weeks later, I was scheduled to give a presentation to a bunch of IT students about the functionality of spyware on laptops, and how to use the spyware to monitor all activities on a laptop. So I decided to infect my laptop with the spyware to show the students how this worked. Totally legal. A day before my presentation, my wife approached me claiming her laptop crashed, and she needed to keep in touch with her friends online. "You never give me your attention anyways, so there's no way I'm giving her my laptop." I remember having this thought on my head. Then a light bulb came on in my head. When I give her my laptop? After all, it's mine. I knew full well my device had this spyware functionality on for the demonstration. So it was a golden chance to have a peep into what she was always chatting with. This was completely legal as it was my laptop and not hers. Right? I had always promised myself never to use my ability to ever snoop in on whatever she was up to. But I told myself I was probably overthinking things, and this was my chance to prove myself right. I gave her the laptop. 15 minutes later, all the communications on my laptop were being synced to a remote database, meaning I could remotely access all the messages going in and out of my laptop, which happened to also include the messages of whoever was using my laptop. Let me cut the crap. I was reading her messages. 1 minute, nothing happened. 5 minutes. Just a few chats with her girls. 10 minutes. Dick pic. "Did you have an enjoyable day, night?" But she said she was at work yesterday. Yes. I did. She replied. Wait. Was someone else using my laptop, or had I made a mistake in the remote setup programming? I peeked to see her on the kitchen counter still typing. "I missed you so much." 30 minutes in, it got so worse. I already knew who she was sleeping with. Mark, my best friend and best man. I had only ever seen things like this in movies or project exposures. How could they both stoop so low? To get the long story short, the wedding did not hold. That experience shaped the direction my career went. I promised them, I promised myself, if heartbreak ever came calling again, that I would never ever be caught short of a story. Everything you read on here is about my life, whether good or bad, enduring or embarrassing, is me making good on that promise. Because if I ever have to watch my hard work and dedication vanish before my eyes again, I might as well have a life story worth watching. And for those of you wondering what happened to the smart little cheater, they got married. Yes. Her and my best man. A month ago, he, my ex-best friend, texted me that he wanted to know if she was cheating, and he wanted me to be the one to find out the irony of my life. Let's see what the community has to say about this story. Mariano 601 says, "Of course, she's cheating. He was an idiot to think it would end with him." EOP replies, "I wasn't surprised either. No username. I know of things. She's definitely cheating. Your ex-best friend is a fool. What did he expect?" IG 37064 says, "Karma, nothing, but pure karma. As soon as you have second thoughts, your gut or intuition is trying to tell you something. Deep down, you always know the truth, but since the truth hurts, we try to push that down and deny it by trusting them because that's what we're supposed to do. Right? Trust people. I feel like that was a good way to catch our op, but I also feel like if we ever have these hunches, we should approach our partners and just ask them up front. Be honest, something doesn't feel right. And then give them the chance to come forward in those moments. I feel like 7 out of 10, they break and totally crumble. Also, of course, she cheated on who was supposed to be your best man when she got all she could out of him. She moved on to the next thrill. What I can't believe is the fact that he had the balls reach out to you. What do you make of this? Up next, we ignore the red flags. We end up in an 11-year prison sentence, 11 years, and still hurts. Hi, all. My wife cheated on me with her first boyfriend 11 years ago in 2011. We had been married for almost 5 years when it happened. We were having a bad time before it happened. Used to work for a company where I had to sleep away from home 6 out of 10 nights. That year, we started fighting more and more for many reasons. One particular one is that I was carrying all the load of the home expenses, whereas she was only helping with our then 4-year-old daughter's school fees. That created a lot of resentment on me as I never agreed with that setup. She was overspending her money in clothing and other stuff and not helping me much. We married relatively young at 26. Most of her friends were still single, and she was hanging around more and more with them. We used to have a nanny and a maid that she did not have many chores to do at home. We used to talk over the phone quite often 3 times a day, but we stopped doing it as we started drifting apart. We were friends of her ex and his wife. Not close, but we had been at their place a few times. And honestly, I did not feel any threat from him. I regret that as I was not jealous, even when I saw she had him in her contacts list, it never crossed my mind that she was capable of cheating on me. She used her phone quite a lot, many times ignoring me on purpose, and I just hated it. One night, we again fought badly, and I went to sleep in a hotel. She was very resentful after this. Then everything started going from bad to worse. No sex. It was scarce already, and no real conversations. One night, we hosted a party with some friends, and she left her phone in the kitchen. I went to drink some water, and the phone started ringing. It was 11 p.m., so a bit late for a phone call. I checked the name, and it was her friend that I had never heard of. I did not answer the call, but instead I confronted her. She was saying it was an old friend from school and that she did not know the reason for the call. I called back, but never had an answer. The only thing that something was wrong, I followed my gut and bugged her phone. I will always regret what happened after. For some reason, I did not check the details of her movement for days. There was even one Saturday she had to go to work as she used to, but this time, she was dressing up quite hotter than normal, with heels and perfume. I asked her who she was going to meet with a sad concerned face. She noticed my distrust and told me, "Don't be silly. I love you." I believed her. I actually thought about following her and did not do it for some reason. Even worse, I did not check her movements shortly after that. Anyways, one night, 10 days later, I was at my work accommodation when she called me and told me she was going to meet a community leader, so could not take phone calls. That was weird to me. So the next day, I logged in my computer and finally checked her locations. She was in one hotel for 1 hour instead of the community leader's place. That was when I started reviewing all the data that the phone had captured. Although I could not check the content of text messages, I could still see the dates and times of the conversations and SMS exchanges. It was pretty obvious something was going on as these were very late. I called and confronted her, and after some divagations, she finally confessed. Then I called her lover and told him I knew everything. The guy denied it all. Such a coward. I was feeling really bad and depressed that day when suddenly I got an email from this guy's wife. It seems someone who knew both my wife and him actually saw them when she got into his car and followed them to the hotel. Then they sent an anonymous email to the wife and she sent it to me. So the issue was Fox Papili now, quite bad in my town, which is very small. My wife begged me to meet her that same night. I declined at the beginning, but ended up yielding to her request. I asked permission at work to leave his site. We met and talked. Probably the worst night of my life so far. She was begging me for forgiveness. I was simply asking why and how she had the courage to do what she did. I had never been in such a shocking state and also have never seen her as she was that night, crying, begging, and unsure why she did what she did. I was mad that she had the decision in her hands, and then she was giving me the role of deciding about the relationship's future after what she had done. She said they met that Monday as she wanted to finish things with him. She could not have sex that night since she just had an IUD procedure and she was bleeding with pain. Still, I was simply in shock and could not understand many things, let alone believe in what she was telling me. I had to return to work the next morning. I was in the middle of my roster away from home and could not get out from the camp anymore. I decided to call her lover again and confronted him. I told him I was not going to make a scandal, neither to call his wife provided the confessed details of the affair. I guess I still wanted to protect my family and leave everything as a rumor. He agreed. He told me some similarities of what my wife told me, such as the duration of the affair, 2 months. The number of times they had sex, 3, and what happened the last time they met. I still caught some laughs from my wife, which was devastating. The guy had the guts to tell me that my wife loved me, but she was very lonely and vulnerable and just took advantage of that. What a piece of crap. As I later knew, his wife was heavily pregnant. I asked him to leave my wife alone and to sort the mess with his wife. He told me he had denied everything, so she was still unsure of the affair. Anyways, I kept searching the data from my wife's phone and noticed she was with her lover that Saturday when I asked her why she was getting so pretty. She denied at the beginning, but then accepted it. That finished breaking my heart. I was desolated. She continued begging for forgiveness. However, I told her I was going to think about it. Traveled to another city to my mother's place with my daughter to think what I wanted to do. My parents were divorced, hence I grew up without my father, did not know until recently when I had therapy, but it seems the situation really affected me, causing me to be afraid to be alone. Emotional attachment issues. Back in the day, I was thinking mainly of my daughter. I did not want her to grow up without me. I loved my wife. I knew we were in a real bad spell when all of this happened, and she seemed really regretful. She actually contacted her aunt, closest relative she had to intermediate between us. She was embarrassed as her aunt is very religious. Anyway, I thought about my decision for about a week with my broken heart about what I wanted to do. It was such a horrible time. I finally decided to work things out, but under many conditions. My wife accepted, and the next 6 months really showed how challenging the situation is. I was basically not trusting on anything about her, judging her, insulting her, attempted to leave her a few times. Then there was one day that she basically got too much and did not stop me. She said that she could not continue like this as much as she tried to remediate things. It was going to be impossible for her to amend things. She indeed was acting the best she possibly could, and I was simply humiliating her at every single opportunity. After that day, I stopped being in a hole. 11 years later, and many things have occurred. We live now in a different country, have a second child, and shared lots of beautiful moments. However, our relationship has many ups and downs. We also fight badly quite often, no physical. And lately, I started feeling depressed because her affair 11 years ago, not sure why. Unfortunately, I can't see her as the pure person I would like to, and I know I'm not giving a 100% in the relationship due to my constant resentment. I love her, but many times, I think if it was the right decision to try to continue our marriage, many times I get back in time and think about the things I should have said or done. I feel disappointed with myself for not being harsher and brave enough to finish it. It boils my blood to think I did not have revenge against her lover or even telling his wife. It is driving me crazy. We still have amazing sex when we were okay, but I can't stop making images of when she was with him. 11 years and still hurts a lot. It is hard to accept it and let it go. The community has some thoughts. I'm talking starts first. 11 years and you still feel the rage and the resentment or regret of actions not done. I'm sorry to say this, but to me, your situation is the best outcome that reconciliation can offer. A life of purgatory where every day is a struggle between the hope that things would be better and the misery of the past. I'm sorry for your plight, mate. The op replies, spot on. Need to try to focus more in the present and accept the past. It is bloody hard, though. Tiz Rock chimes in. You seem to be slightly suffering from the invested time fallacy. The best years of your life are always the ones you have left. Look yourself in the mirror. Look at the last 11 years. What have you been through? Good and bad. Then talk to an individual counselor. Discuss gaining back your self-respect. Through realizing that the only person an affair reflects on is your wayward partner, not you. An individual counselor should be able to help you. You evaluate if you can do that. If you cannot, have them help you develop the tools to move on. Honestly, it's impossible to reconcile and work on something if you don't trust someone. You can carry that with you, which you have, and it eventually breaks everything down until there's nothing left of you or the relationship. Trying to pretend that you have a perfect life with a perfect family can only last so long. Moving to a different country doesn't mean you're leaving the past behind. The past has to be confronted or else you carry the hurt and resentment with you. You're not in a marriage right now. You're in a prison. You either buck up and face up to what happened, or you break out and realize that this isn't working. It's not fair to either one of you if one of you isn't a 100% in the relationship. Time to face the facts or you're just going to waste what life you have left. What do you think of Op staying with his cheating wife? Up next, the more we push back, the less it will be idolized. All in the family. I had a chuckle today. So my loser ex was married, said he was long divorced. It's a long story, but one of the pieces was him trying to sleep with my much younger roommate. When she found out he was married, I told her after I found out right after the breakup. She made a Facebook page to shame him. I took the page from her after I found out. This morning, I got a friend's suggestion. I clicked on it, and it's a form of page of my ex's uncle. He cheated on his wife and she outed him all over that page. That was 10 years ago. His father was a serial cheater too, among other things. Guess it's all in the family, yikes. Ad Successful 2506 has this thought. Yeah. I have 2 cheaters, ex, and both have cheater DNA. The funniest is the one with twin brothers 16 that got pregnant, his father in 40s, mistress 20s. 1 year later, he abandoned them afterwards. He has 5 different children with 5 different women all around the world. J&H's daughter chimes in. Well, with that many family members, I'm gonna assume it's because they must normalize it. Like I heard a whole man say that his son was stepping out on his wife was something that 95% of men do. So it definitely seems like this must be the norm in his family. Unfortunately, it's an ideology that's been instilled and something that's been deemed okay. That's a shame. Infidelity totally ruins people, and it's disgusting to think that people are just out there doing it with this nonchalant behavior without thinking about the consequences or what it does to others. I think it's right to out the cheaters and put them on display to display what's totally wrong and horrendous behavior. Their behavior and actions shouldn't be celebrated or normalized as you be held in contempt. What do you think? Thank you for joining us today on our space. Please be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Also, please let us know what you thought of today's content in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. See you soon.